everyone. Thanks for joining in. We are back for another episode of Planeta Patineta, where we talk about everything skateboarding here in the Chicagoland area. So today we have a very special guest. I don't like to call these interviews because in a sense, everybody that I've quote unquote interviewed, I know them. So it's more like just like a chat that we like share with our viewers and listeners. But our guest is someone that I know very well. I think for like 2 years we've been knowing each other.
Yeah.
And, we've seen each other grow so much. And I'm really grateful. I don't know if they've ever heard me say this about them, but I'm really grateful that they're always down to back me up to go skate. And, everybody has busy lives. So, I really appreciate you showing up to skate with me and, just coming out to the south side. And, sometimes I go out to the north side.
Yeah.
But anyways, without further ado, I want to introduce my good friend Lilian to the show. So if you want to just, state your name. How was your morning? How's it going?
My name is Lilian. My morning's been going really well, I guess. I got breakfast with my partner, and then we just walked around Humboldt Park, ran some few errands, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
It's really nice out today.
Yeah, it's a good Saturday.
Yeah.
Usually I tell people to share their skate story, but I want to share how it is that we met, because I don't know if you remember how we met, but I remember how we met. I usually remember how I meet everybody. It's kind of weird. I remember people.
I think I also do remember how we meet.
You do remember?
Yeah, it was at the Onward meetup. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't think I said hi to you because this was my first skate meetup, I think, and then I had just because Onward had just started out at that time, so I was and then I started following the group, and then I was like, oh, they're having a meetup at Troop, and then I was like, okay, I'll go because I wanna get more involved, and then this is also where I met Karina too.
Yeah, I met Karina there too.
And then I think after that I did not talk to them for maybe a year until you reached out to them and got them to skate with us a little bit more, but I remember I saw you working on your 50/50s, trying to get up on the ledges, 50s. And then I was like, oh my god, she is so good.
Oh no, I saw your ollies and I was like, yo, this person has some good ollies, I want to be this person's friend, Yeah. I remember it was a good vibe that day.
And then I don't think I even, because we all introduced ourselves in a circle, I think, but I don't even think I said hi to you. But then you added me on Instagram. I was like, who this?
Yeah, that was a fun day. Yeah, I'm glad you remembered. Yeah, I remember Karina was doing shove-its.
Yeah.
Was going up the kicker and then coming back
down,
and then doing them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. Who else was there? I know Bella was there. I know Karina's friend. I forgot their name, but they were also there. But it's interesting that you mentioned that it was Onward's one of the first meetups, because it seems it's not that long ago, but I feel we've all been skating with each other and we've grown so much. And it's interesting to know that there's out of these spaces that have been really about community, a lot of these smaller groups of non-traditional skaters have formed and are continue to hang out with each other and skate.
Yeah, which is I think their ultimate goal. Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Know, right?
That was so long ago. That was literally
Was that 2 years ago?
That was May 2021. Yeah, because I had just started skating at that point. And I was like, oh, I have to get people to skate with me.
So now we can transition to your skate story, 'cause I remember you'd mentioned you used to longboard. So you were familiar with kick pushing and stuff.
Yeah.
How was that transition, or what sort of
prompted you
to switch over from longboard to skating and popsicle street?
So I guess the only reason I got a longboard was I was in college, and I was like, well, I guess I'll get a longboard so I can go to class. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing. It was just a mode from a mode of transportation for me at the time, just getting from class to class. And as a kid, I wanted to skateboard, and then my parents were like, no. So I would ride my friends' my neighbors' skateboards. We had a bunch of, I think, my block was mostly dudes growing up, so someone had a skateboard, and so I would ride it sometimes. And I remember wanting to do it more as a kid, but I don't think my parents were too thrilled with that. So I don't even think I even asked. But so college, got a longboard, and then
was it really popular for people to use longboards to get commute? From because you also went to U of I, right?
Yeah, so I went to U of I, and I don't know. I mean, I did see a good amount of people on longboards. In my dorm, the first year at least, I saw I don't know, at least 5 or 10 people with longboards. Yeah. But I don't know. I also had a bike. Sometimes I would bike, but the longboard was just so easy. You don't have to go park it and then run to class. I would just go to class and then just leave it on the wall, and then I would just take it with when I would leave. Yeah. So that was really really convenient. But after that, I don't even know where my longboard went at this point. I came home from graduated school, and then moved to Chicago, and then for a few years I worked, and then the pandemic hit, and then I was oh, I'm gonna buy a skateboard because I have nothing to do now. I got laid off from my job at that point. I was all right, I'm gonna start skateboarding. So I bought a board that actually was a non-profit skate group that a few people in my college actually founded. It's called Giving Room. Okay.
Shout out to Giving Room.
Shout out to Giving Room. I don't know if they're still active because they were based in Chicago, New York City, Atlanta.
So did they fabricate their own boards, or
they had their own boards and designs and stuff. They also had totes and T-shirts. But I don't really know what happened. They might still, I don't know if they're still active. Yeah. But I got my first board from them, and then that was
support local.
Yeah, support local for real.
I mentioned that because you're really about supporting local, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important, and I'm I don't know. There are plenty of people who will always buy the big name stuff. Yeah. But if you can support local, especially because smaller brands can be more expensive because they have more overhead, but as a person who has a stable income, I see myself this is what I can do with my income and my money, and support these smaller groups. So this is September of 2020. Got my board, and then didn't really skate at all. I just got the board, I set it up, and then the weather turned really bad, and it was still really bad COVID, so it's not I was going to indoor skate parks. I didn't have any friends who skated at this point. And then I think fast forward to March of 2021, I one day it was really windy, but I was it's the first good day, I'm gonna go to Clemente. And then I tried working on some kick turns, trying to do some ollies, but just by myself. And so
where did that drive, where do you think you got inspired to have that drive to go by yourself? Were you watching a lot of videos? Were you watching tutorials on YouTube?
No.
Or what do you think you got that adrenaline rush to say this is what I'm gonna do?
I don't know. I think it's just I think this is really cool, and I'm gonna go do it. And I've always been someone who really enjoys spending time by themselves. I do thrive in situations where I really do focus in, and so I just put on headphones and would just go to the skate park. And I think the biggest thing was if I was alone, then no one's gonna watch me fall. That was a big thing. There was no one there the first day I went to Clemente. It was perfect because just doing a few kick turns was so scary, and I feel I was oh no, I was gonna fall every single time. And then after that, one time I went to Clemente, I still hadn't met anyone at this point. This was right the day of Onward's first meetup where they went to the lot. I think this was April or May.
The lot.
Yeah.
I haven't been there. I've heard things, but I haven't been there.
It's, really nice, smooth pavement.
Yeah, good for flat.
Good for flat. And so this person, they were oh, they were so friendly. They came up to me and they're oh, you should come to the skate meetup right now. And I was like, okay.
Right now.
Because they had taken I got to Clemente, and this was at the point where they took everything away. There was nothing there anymore.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay. And like, that's kind of like what like led me to like go to all these different skate meetups and like meet you guys. So
yeah. I guess we can transition more into like your involvement with Froskate and like the photo shoots. Like, how was that experience for you to like do modeling? Because I know you do modeling on the side, and I think that's really great. So like, yeah, if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think the first time I ever did anything was in 2021, like end of the summer of 2021. Like, Harley had reached out to me and was like, hey, like, would you want to come by and like for this situation? I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, absolutely. And it was like the first time I had done anything like that too, and it was like a really fun experience. Just, you know, wearing their merch and stuff, and I don't know, I feel like I'm awkward sometimes still in front of a camera, but I was like the photographer at the time he was so nice. He was just like really easy to work with, and like with that, like obviously I got more involved, and like she also like invited me out to like more shoots and stuff for Froskate, and that was like, it's a really fun experience. And like my sister was a model. She's tall. Like,
Wait, was she also an actor? No.
My sister's an actress. Yes.
Yeah, I remember this.
But like, my sister's tall. She's tall and skinny, so she was a model for a little bit, like both in Chicago and New York. And then so like for me, I was like, oh, you know, I'm not tall. I'm like average female.
You are tall.
I'm average
compared to the average Mexican. You are tall.
I feel like in China, when I was there, I was like, everyone's like, oh, you're tall. I'm like,
yeah, are you tall when you go out to China?
Yeah, like I feel like people do say I'm tall, but I'm like, I think I'm still average female height in China anyways, so I don't know. But like, you know, my sister would model, and I thought it was like never in the cards for me, because I'm like, oh, I'm not like what you typically think of like as a model, but like, you know, everyone's like trying to like not follow that like pattern anymore, which is nice. But when like these opportunities came up to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take it.
Why not?
And honestly, like, because like I was given these opportunities, like I was able to do, like, someone reached out to me from Notre doing like a shoot. It's like that clothing store in Chicago that like sells like higher end like streetwear, or like,
is it like another Supreme? Is it like a?
It's not like their own brand. It's not like their own brands. They sell. It's like a a retailer.
I get what you mean. Okay, yeah, I know what shops you're talking about.
Yeah. So like it's, you know, higher end stuff. But like that's literally, I'm pretty sure that's how they found me.
Nice.
So like very grateful for like Froskate like providing these opportunities for me, such that like I've been able to get like more opportunities outside of Froskate for modeling. And it's, I don't know, like a lot of people like always ask me about that, like, oh, do you have like, are you modeling anymore? I'm like, no. Like, they're like, oh, you should do it more, and like I would love to see you more. And then like during like the Notre shoot, and like there was another shoot that I did for like a small local clothing brand called Cloina. Both of them, all the photographers there were like, oh, like, I don't know if they were like trying to like hype me up or anything, but they're like, oh, you're a natural at this. Like, are you sure you've never done this before? Are you signed? I'm like, no.
Is this something that started from your experience at Froskate, or did you have that experience before, or like any type of like opportunities like that?
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm like trying to think back. I'm like, have I done anything like this? Have I like blocked it from my memory? But no, it literally, like, those times with the Froskate were like the first times. Yeah.
Do you enjoy it? Is it something that you think is like kind of like a hobby, or just like something that you do on the side? Because I know that you also do. Yeah. You have a band.
I do have a band, yes. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just like something that I think is, I don't know, like it gets me out of my comfort zone, because I feel like I feel like I'm always so awkward in front of the camera, and like I don't know what to do. Like what am I gonna do with my hands? and then it's also like working with whoever's taking the photo, and then also like making sure you're not doing the same exact thing, like every like outfit change, or like, you know, because I felt like I was like, oh, I'm doing the exact same pose that I did in the other outfit. And so I'm like, wow, this is really difficult. Why did I think, like, I didn't ever think it was easy, but I'm like, if anyone ever thinks like this stuff is easy, you are wrong. But definitely like something on the side for sure. Yeah. I don't know if I would ever do that like a full time, because like you are essentially like, I feel like you're using your looks and your youth for, you know, income, but like you might not always have that. Right. Which is good to like capitalize on it now, but I don't know. I like stability, I think, as a person. So
before we get into your awesome job as a biochemical engineer, talk about your band.
Oh gosh.
I went to your first show.
Oh yeah, you brought me flowers.
I got you flowers. Yes. Yeah. And we all love your band. Noe plays it all the time at Cicero Bowl.
Yes.
By the way, Lilian's band's name is Gnarly Gap. Look them up on Spotify, everywhere.
And yeah.
And your bandmates all skate.
Yeah, we all skate.
Pretty amazing. So, and I also remember you telling me the story that you tell the story that like this band is like a Craigslist band because that's how you found it.
Yeah, it is.
Tell us about that story. I love that story and I want you to tell it.
Oh gosh. Okay. So a little backstory. Like around the same time I started skateboarding in like September, October of 2020, you know, I also picked up the bass. You know, I bought a bass in like 2018, but I never played it. I don't know, just like didn't have time. My job was pretty demanding, and then so, you know, got laid off, started playing the bass, and like, you know, really worked at it a lot. Like I do have an advantage because I did play violin growing up, so like a lot of things came naturally to me, but it's still a very different instrument and so difficult. It was just, there was a lot to learn, and I'm still learning every day. But so like fast forward, you know, a year later, so this is like September of 2021, I'm just like perusing Craigslist, and then I'm like in the musician section or whatever, and then it like I'm like looking for like musicians that want to start a band in the area, because I'm like, I don't want to go to like uptown to like play with people. I'm like local. And like the location,
is that what people do? They like go, what's this deal with like going up to uptown and
no, like I'm just saying like a different neighborhood, like that is that takes like, I don't know, like 20 or 25 minutes or something.
Like you wanted to play with people who lived around your area.
And then so like if I did like have to rehearse, it wouldn't be like I'm driving all the way across town, you know. And so like this location was like, oh, like near Humboldt Park. I was like, okay, cool. And then I remember the ad, it was just like, oh, you know, like looking for bassist and drummer for like a punk band, and these are like the influences. And I'm just like, well, I don't really listen to punk music, and I'm kind of familiar with these bands, but I think on the Craigslist ad there was also like a Dropbox of all the demos that the bandmate had recorded. And so like, I know I replied the ad. I was like, hey, I've been playing the bass for like a year. Here's my YouTube link.
And get this, your own YouTube channel. Okay.
Yeah. So like a fun little backstory about my YouTube channel. I started.
What's like, your YouTube channel at? How do people find you?
Arugula666. Okay. But like I honestly, like I wanted to send like a video of me playing like a song to my friend Sarah, and then I just like uploaded it to YouTube and had it unlisted, and then I just sent it to them, and then they were like, oh my god, cool. And I'm like, you know what, why don't I just make it listed? And then like I think that cover was like, it's a Polish like post-punk band from like the 80s or 90s. It's called Siekierka. It means axe in Polish. And then so I started just like posting more and more covers of this band, and then I started getting like traction randomly, and then like right now like one of the videos got like 15,000 views. I was like, where are you finding me? I'm not promoting this anywhere, I swear. So I ended up sending that video to the guy on Craigslist because I was like, hey, here's like a demo of me playing. Like, I did play violin for like, a long time, but, I just started playing bass, but here it is. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, learn this song first, and then if you have time, like, learn the other stuff, and then we can meet at the music garage, which is where we rehearse. And then, yeah, we can see if you're a fit. And then, so I text him, honestly, I'm like, okay, cool. You're not a serial killer, right? He's like, no.
And I remember you told me that you took your partner with you.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not going to show up to the music garage to meet a random male. No, like, I feel like that's just like fuel for like a murder story. Right. You got to be careful out there.
Got to be careful in Chicago.
I know. Ugh. But ended up working out.
How does that go? Does it function like an interview? Like, how was the vibe?
So like, he was just like, oh yeah, here's the room, here's the instrument, here's the rig, plug in here. And I didn't really know anything at the time. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So like, I had brought my bass, but he also had brought his own bass. And then so like, we didn't have a drummer yet. So he would be like counting us in, and I would play. And then he was like, oh, okay, cool.
Were you later on, did you find, because now you're in the band, later on did you find out you were the only one they like interviewed?
Well, no.
Was there different people that they were like potentially looking to?
The reason why I got the gig was because I was the first person to respond to the ad.
Okay.
Woo!
Yes, professionalism.
Yes, and I was like, and then they're like, well, you fit, so like you can play the stuff. I'm like, cool, nice. And, like, it was just him too, and then like, with the drummer, I think like he had posted on like Facebook as well, and so like our drummer now, like, he was like, hey, I'm interested, and then he came in like 2 or 3 weeks later and then played with us, and then we're like, all right, it's a band.
All right, it's a band. And later you found out that they were skaters, or how did you find out? Was there?
I don't really know how we all found out we were skaters, but it obviously came up. Yeah. Especially with like the band name stuff.
Who decided on that band name? What's the story behind that?
I don't remember. Dude,
what were the other potential names? Do you remember?
No, I feel like that was so long ago.
Gnarly Gap was meant to be.
Gnarly Gap was meant to be. Yeah, and then we added like another guitarist like shortly, like a few months after that. And then we like played our first show, like you said, in April of last year, 2022.
So I know that y'all, I don't know about now, but I remember y'all have consistently played at like skate-related venues. So that was at the Pilsen DIY, and then y'all played at Starlight, I believe.
Yeah, we played at Starlight.
So who manages you, or what's the reason behind like y'all always getting gigs at like skate-related places? Like, there's like a connection there. I'm like curious to know how that works.
Yeah. So let's see. So at the Pilsen DIY, like our drummer Kevin, like he's played in I think a few bands like in the Chicagoland area. So he's like very well connected, and so like he knows the people that run Pilsen DIY and everything, and so like and knows like a lot of like local bands, and so like when we were putting on that show for Earth Day, he was just like able to like get stuff like lined up like that. And then with Starlight, it was honestly through me. So go me.
Go me. Shout out to myself.
Shout out to myself. But I'd gone to like Starlight like a few times. I remember like sending you guys like screen like in the group chat like, oh, I'm at Starlight, like it just opened up. Like got to know.
Yeah, I remember you were one of the first people that like
went like
introduced me about Starlight.
So early, long ago, like when they had just like opened up or something.
Yeah, you were like promoting them. They should thank you.
Yeah, but like I talked to the guy, and then he was just, and then like I saw them posting on their Instagram like, hey, we're trying to book for the summer because it's a big way for them to like get people to come to the skate park. It's an indoor skate park in the summer when everyone's trying to skate outside. Yeah. So like through essentially me like contacting them and like replying to their like inquiry about like trying to book there, I'm like, oh yeah, we can definitely do this. Everyone skates, everyone's gonna have a good time.
Cool.
Yeah. Do
you usually skate before or after? Because I know you post videos.
I feel like we did
like the park before.
We definitely did both.
Cool.
At Starlight, like I don't know if you remember when we were at Pilsen DIY. It was raining that day.
That wasn't the first show?
That was the first show. That was the first show.
It was raining?
Yeah, it was raining that day. I was like very drizzly. So. And then like and then it's kind of drizzly, and like I feel like there may have maybe one person trying to skate out there, but it was just like not a good time.
Yeah, it was raining. That's why a lot of people weren't skating. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, are you having any show dates coming up soon?
Yeah. Actually, we were supposed to play, like, do you guys know, like, that, like, rock club or whatever, that bar on North Ave called Exit?
Not familiar with it, but I'm sure our listeners are.
But, so, like, someone was, like, it's been closed for a while, and, like, they've been trying to, like, redo it inside like, get it ready to be opened again, and they were, like, planning like this massive like 4 day festival where there's like 40 bands playing total, and we like, you know, we were able to get a spot for that, but it ended up not working out because they're not going to be able to like get the spot opened up in time, I think. I'm not too sure, but we had a backup plan anyway, so we're playing like the Friday, like May 6th or 7th, I'm not sure, but it's like at a cafe situation out in like Willow Springs.
Willow Springs. I know where Willow Springs is.
Yeah, somewhere there. Don't know the dates, but yeah, that's like, you know, we've been trying to write more music as a band, and it's, you know, everyone's, you know, has like a 9 to 5 at this job, in this band. So like, it's, you know, we all have our own personal lives we have to deal with, and like our band is like a very much, your personal life comes first. If you need to do something for your family, if you need to do something for your job, like that comes first. We're just here to like, this is just like musical outlet, and so
it's good to have those boundaries too.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, you know, we're working on like writing more songs, and we want to play more.
And
like,
how does the writing process work for y'all? Because even like, I think I've talked about this before in previous interviews, like the podcast that we have here, like I work with Noe and I work with Eric, and so. And I don't know if I told this to Noe or Eric, but like this podcast would not be running without their help. You know, like I come out here, but really it's a collaborative effort. So I think in, you know, having a band, like how does the writing process work? Do you all have to like agree on something? Like what's that like?
Yeah, so I feel like with our band, like usually like either one of the guitarists will like come up with like a riff or something that they like thought about like during the week, or like, and then like we'll jam on it as a band, or like, because we usually record our practices, so like sometimes when we're just warming up we'll just like jam to something, and usually like the guitarist, one of them will like start like a chord progression, and then I'll like figure it out and like add my own parts, and obviously me and the drummer will like try to follow each other, and like because we're in the rhythm section, so like we'll try to come up with something like kind of together-ish in a sense, like rhythmically.
And that's all happening live.
Yeah, that's all happening live. And so like there's like all these like practices where we've recorded stuff and we're like, oh, this riff is really cool, or like this melody was cool, or like that idea was cool, but haven't gone back and like listened to it because it just got lost or something. And it just like, you know, it takes a long time to like sift through all that stuff. And so, you know, if you're gonna do that on your own time, like you go home, you have your job, and then you're like, you have your life, and then you're like, oh, I need to set aside time to like listen to that stuff.
It's a process. It's a long process. And
then so I don't know, like I like for the most part, like, well, yeah, no, all the parts, like I write my own bass lines. Like I think it's just hard for me to like come up with something like if on my own, like just like from scratch, but like you usually like, you know, the guitarist will like say like, oh, this is cool, and then like I'll work on something and say like, oh, I think this works well, and they'll like and then like see what they think, and then obviously like if the drummer has like any input, but I think, I don't know, like because like the first songs that we all like kind of played were off of the demo that like our guitarist Scott, like he wrote all these songs, but you know, we've made it our own because like a lot of the songs have drastically changed from the demos, and so obviously it's not like this is like the only correct way, or like obviously we have our own opinions. Like sometimes we're like, oh, like maybe we should do this, or maybe we should do this, and then like sometimes we're like, oh no, I don't like that, but someone might like it and someone might not. But like it always ends up like working out. Like I think we're creating something that everyone's happy with.
What about the lyrics? Like, is that also a collaborative effort?
No. Collaborative no, I don't. Honestly, sometimes I don't know what he's saying. Like me as a person, like when I listen to music in general, I feel like I don't know what they're saying to begin with.
Like a Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
What is he saying?
Yep. And so I'm just like, well, okay. But like he always like they always explain like what they're singing about, but and I'll like read it and I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, I don't know, like for me, I'm like, I feel like for me, I'm like, oh, my focus isn't on lyrics. Like lyrics are very powerful, but for me, like the focus is really on the music. And and like obviously I'll look at the lyrics and be like, oh, like the feeling is this is the feeling that I'm getting from this song, but that's really it, lyrical wise.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I think I wanna, like, from what hearing you out, your band works collaboratively, like you have your own little community and you kind of like bounce off of each other ideas. But that's also in a way different than skateboarding, because skateboarding is like you yourself, you set your goals and you have to meet them, and it's just like you and your board. And like, you know, in contrast to like having a band, it's like you all have to work together. So how do you see those two like hobbies in your life, and what do you enjoy about how different they are or similar?
I mean, so I guess like both of them are very, to me, they're still like very individual based hobbies, because like I feel like playing in a band is still like, it's very challenging for me. Like I'm still new to, like I'm intermediate basis now or something, I don't know, but I'm like, I'm still trying to understand like how to write interesting bass lines, what to do. I'm like, I started taking bass lessons like recently, so like like all those factors, and like learning how to like play and like with the drummer, and then like knowing when to back down, because like it might mesh with the vocals, like if I'm doing too much, like when after learning like, oh, I'm doing too much here, or here I can shine a little bit, I can play something like a little bit more intricate, like that for me is still like a very like individual like goal for me to like get better at, and so like even though it is like a very collaborative effort, there are a lot of goals that I want to see for myself within that. And like I guess like that's kind of like, you know, skateboarding too, you know, there are all these tricks I want to get, and like it's a very individual sport, but when you're skating with your, you know, friends and peers, it can be like a group effort, because, you know, you're helping each other. And then, you know, the only reason why I feel like I've gotten better in the past 2 years is because I started skating with people, and, you know, you'll try something, I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then you'll say like, oh, I don't think I can do it, but I think you can try it. Like, cause like we all have our different strengths and stuff. So, and then like, you know, you'll ask me to like hold your hands to try something new, and I'm like, oh, absolutely. It's even though it's like an individual sport, it's still, you need the support of your friends and peers. So I feel like both aspects have their like individual and like collaborative like feel to it.
Yeah, interesting you talk about music being like individual and like individual goals for yourself, because I am taking a sound class this semester, and I'm kind of like training my ear how to listen to different sounds, and like what you were saying, like, oh, this is my part to shine. So I think about like not a lot of people know how to be active listeners, especially when you're working with music, or how to compose and write and like produce music. But anyways, I was just kind of thinking about that.
Yeah, it's important.
Like having individual goals. What is the post-production process like? Who does like post-production editing for your band?
Okay.
Because y'all are on Spotify. I was actually talking to EJ about it, because EJ also has a band. And I was like, who does the post-production? And they were telling me that they do it on Logic. So what's that process for y'all?
Okay, so like this is what typically happens when we record. Like we'll record like drum and bass together with like scratch vocals and scratch guitars and stuff, because we need the drums and the bass to like be in time and together, and then we'll record the guitars like after the fact, and then the vocals and like any other like things we want to add in, like synths or like keyboards or, you know, other claps or effects here and there. And then so like our old guitarist, like he's done it in the past as well, where he's just like messing around on, I think he uses Logic. And then he will like, you know, send like versions to the group, and then Scott will be like, this is wrong. Or if they're like, this needs to pan hard right, and this needs to pan hard left, and then I'm just sitting here, I'm like, what?
What is that? Yeah, what is pan?
And then so I'm just like, okay, sure, but like, you know, all of them have been in bands much longer than I have been playing. Everyone in the band knows how to play bass. Their ears. Yeah, they trained their ears, whereas me, and I'm just like, I'm still like trying to pick up on all those things too, and like learning like, yeah, like the different, like when we mix stuff together, like bring
sound language too.
Yeah, and I'm just like sitting here, I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on, and like, but like, so we like all the guitarists like did that a lot, but like when we would like the most recent EP we put out, like we recorded at one of our friends' house, like he does recording and like mixing and mastering of all like of our songs and stuff, so like he did it, and like he would like send us like versions, and like someone would say like, oh, we like this, or like, oh, can you bring this up a little bit more, or like, oh, the guitars are too loud here, type of situation. And so like it would just be like a back and forth between us and our friends. So like that's kind of what the post-production looks like, and like once everyone's happy with it, then like we'll push it through. Nice. But like there's been like practices where we'll go sit in our guitarist's car, and then he had like really nice like speakers in his car, and we'd just like sit there and like try to
silence
and like listen to like the mixes and be like, okay, like what do we think is what needs to be changed, or like what do we like about it. So yeah,
I have a good question I just came up with in my head right now. What has been the gnarliest moment when you've played live, like something gnarly that's happened in one of your gnarly Gap shows?
God, gnarly.
That's a good question. Get the pun. You get the pun.
Gnarliest thing that has happened.
You define gnarly, so it could be something crazy, something, I don't know. Crazy shit happens at shows. Crazy shit happens at punk shows.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm trying to like
either to your bandmates, to you, or to the audience, an audience member. Oh, I've got a good one.
I'm sorry to put my drummer on blast right now. Okay, so this is actually honestly after like a full day of recording at the said person's house, and then so you know our drummer Kevin has been. No, he has a harder job, and this dude drums with his entire body. He's just like putting it all in, and like we've taken a bunch of takes on a lot of different songs. We've been recording since like from like 10 to like 4 or something, and so he's dead tired. But Garen had asked us to play a house show for him at his apartment in Uptown, and then so we're like, well, we're not gonna say no. So I texted the group, was like, hey, you guys mind? Like, want to do this? Like, we're going to record all day, but let's go play the show. And everyone was on the board. So I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to do it. So, you know, we get there, we set up, blah, blah. So we start playing the set. And then Garen has closed all of the windows to the apartment because he doesn't want to get like a sound complaint, a noise complaint. And mind you, this is like June or like July or something. I don't remember. So it's hot.
Hot day. July is hot, Chicago.
Hot day. And then so, you know, fans going. We play the entire set. I've tried to give Kevin like water the entire time because dude needs water. And then I think after we play our last song, which is Gnarly Gap, he does vomit on his snare.
Whoa.
Yeah.
While playing?
No, like literally we finish and then...
Oh, okay.
And then I just see him like kind of slumped over. I was like, oh my God.
Was it like build up like anxiety or was it just... Yeah.
It's just hot, I think. I don't know. Sorry, Kevin. Much love.
At least he finished it, he finished the song and was like, this is it.
This is
Played
it.
this good set, now I need a release.
Yeah, it was crazy. That was a crazy set, yeah.
Did he feel better afterwards?
I think so.
Throw up?
I think he, honestly, I think he was fine.
Okay, good. That's great. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I think he was fine.
Okay, cool. That does sound like a gnarly story. No more gnarly stories?
I don't think anything. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. And then at the same show, like our guitarist Stan at the time, he broke a Garen's screen door. He just like walked into it, and it just.
I wish we had these like moments on tape.
Oh, I know.
Like, recorded. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
A documentary of Gnarly Gap.
Gnarly Gap.
I know that you don't really like to talk about this. You can talk as little about this or as much about it. But on your IG bio, I don't know about now.
Yeah, it's still there.
Corporate sellout.
Yeah, I am.
Tell us about why.
I am a corporate sellout. I mean, I think I'm less of a corporate sellout now. So, like, a little backstory. I graduated with, like, a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. And then my first job out of college was for, like, an oil and gas company.
I love the way you say it. Oil and gas company.
I know. So, like, and technically I was selling my soul for, like, to make good money. Mm-hmm. And, like... oil and gas, like, it's never gonna go away, I don't think. So I was just like, you know what, this job is interesting. Because how they marketed it was like, for the first year and a half, you're in like a rotational program. You'll have like 3 rotations, and these 3 like different rotations. You had like operations, like tech service, and then like engineering. And then after this rotation, you went into something called field service. And this is a full-time travel job. Mm-hmm. So, like, they paid for you to, like, move out of your apartment and ship all your stuff back home. Yeah. And then, like, while you're in field service, you got, like, everything paid for. You got, like, a daily meal stipend, and then, like, a car and, like, a hotel if you needed it. So, like, they would pay, like, 2 out of the 3 while you're in the home office in the Chicagoland area. And then so... you got sent all over the world, and like you never really knew where you were going next. It's a pretty crazy job, like thinking about it, like going to places that I would never go to, like for vacation or anything. But like these places are not like glamorous. You're going to like petrochemical like places and refineries. Mm-hmm. They're not in like glamorous places. Like I was in middle of nowhere, like China, for like 5 months. Like a small city in China is still like 100,000 people, but like the petrochemical plant itself was like in the middle of nowhere. So like just like things like that, like the year and a half that I was in that position and the field service, like I was making pretty good money, but I was like, I gave up my entire life. Mm-hmm. I felt like I had no personality. Because like
you talking to me
like
about this,
people would just be like, oh, your job is so cool. Where were you? Like, how is this country? Blah, blah, blah. And, like, people really glamorize it. And I'm just like, it's fine. Like, it is cool at the time. But, like, looking back on it, like, I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't have, like, any interests. I felt like there was nothing more to me than just a job. Like, I was me and I had a job. And that was it. And, like, at that point, I feel like I was still, like, in a situation of, like, I feel like job is like the most important part of me right now because like it is taking up all of me. But when I got laid off from that job, I was like, oh wait, there is an entire side of me that I need to express and like have hobbies and like become a more well-rounded person than like a person who is, just so dedicated to their job. But yeah, I am a corporate sellout because I feel like, especially at that job, I really liked the stability that the job gave me, like financially, and like still now, like I sometimes every day I think about like, oh, what if I didn't have like a corporate job, or what if I like freelanced? But at the end of the day, I think I really do like the stability, just from what my job is able to give me. And so like since then I've changed, like I've gotten a new job. Yeah.
And so what was the tipping point for you to leave that job?
Well, I got laid off, so not my choice.
That was during COVID, right?
June of 2020. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was.
So it worked out well then. Like, yeah, job.
Yeah, like I'm a person who's also like things happen for a reason, definitely. And also it was definitely a blessing in disguise because I feel like I've got to pursue like things that I've always wanted to do, but also like I feel like the 2 years that I lived in Chicago when I had that job, like all my friends were work friends. I don't think I had like any like friends outside of work or like friends from like high school or college that I would like keep in touch with. I felt like I had like no like friends that shared like similar interests, similar values. And so like once I got like laid off, I was like, did I have anything in common with my coworkers? And like a lot of them I did, but like a lot of them I'm like, I think we were just situational friends, and like I felt that way with like a lot of college friends too. And so like since joining like the skate and like the music community, it makes Chicago feel so much smaller. Like I was literally talking about this like yesterday and today with a few friends. Like yesterday I ran into a few people like on the street, and then today I ran into like a bunch of people on the street. I was like, wow, like this is, if you told me this would have happened to me like in 5 years ago, like I would have been like, no, you don't know anyone. But I don't know, like now I feel like I'm less of a corporate sellout, but I don't really see myself leaving corporate America anytime soon, which is sad, but it allows
you have a more balanced life.
It allows me to like pursue my hobbies. Like playing bass is not cheap, and like I want to buy more basses. I want to buy like better like audio equipment. Like that stuff is expensive.
Like access to tech.
So like, and just like being able to like take vacations and like still getting like using like PTO for it and stuff like is nice.
So now at your new job, you have traveled to places.
I have traveled, yeah.
So now that skateboarding is in your life, how have you incorporated like skating at other places? When you travel?
Yeah, I wish I did this when at my field service job, because I went to all these like really cool places in the world, and I just wish I took up skateboarding then. But every single time I go to like a customer, I always like search like skate parks near. And like the one customer that I've been really going to a lot in Wisconsin, it's only an hour away from Madison. So like there have been many times I'll just go to Madison if I get off early, or if it's the end of my trip, I'll just drive straight to Madison and then skate. And then come back. Yeah,
I think you were the one that kind of convinced like me and Novi to go out and check out that bowl.
That bowl is the best.
Let's go check it out. And then like Karina was it, like is from there, and then like my friend Sophie was living there at the time, so it's like, what more reason do we need to go?
It's a quick, from here, it's 2 hours drive.
It's good. Yeah, cool. We're down to like the last couple of questions, but what if you could like really drill it down, like what drives you to like push yourself in like challenging situations, because you've left the job that you were on, you got laid off, but then you've learned how to like balance out your lifestyle, and you decided to take up this hobby like playing bass and even skating and like signing up for lessons. You were telling me before the interview like you were taking lessons for how to use Ableton. So what, like, I guess, what does your inner, like, voice tell you need to learn? Like, you need to keep learning, absorbing, or, like, you need to change it up? Like, how do you get into that habit? Because I think for people like us that, like, skate and, like, have other hobbies, it just comes very easily, but rarely do we think about, like, why is it that I'm pushing myself to, like, do this crazy trick or, like,
Yeah, honestly.
I've been thinking about that lately, so.
It's so stupid, but it's honestly imposter syndrome. It's like, because like people look at you and you're like probably just automatically assume you can't do stuff, or like because like music industry so male dominated, skateboarding community, skateboarding scene is so male dominated, and I feel like I know I don't have to like prove myself, but like I want to for some reason I'm like, I want to impress these people, make sure that they think I belong or I can play the bass. I don't want them to be like, oh, she just got in the band because she's a chick. I want them to be like, oh, she's in the band because she's really good.
Yeah, she's put in that work.
She's like, put in the work.
This is her spot. Yeah,
and it's just like my own insecurities that is essentially just projecting through this, and that's what really drives me. The insecurities, which is something that I work really hard on to get over these insecurities and like care less about what people think. But at the end of the day, like a lot of that is what drives me, and I think. I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of because everyone has their insecurities, but if it helps you in a beneficial way, then, it can help you get over the insecurity, but also just like help you in the skills that whatever you're trying to like get over, like the skills that you're trying to acquire, like getting better at bass for me, because like sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Like I can't do this. Don't know if I'm doing this correctly. But at the end of the day, like all of that, because I feel like I need to get better, because I feel like I need to prove myself, that drives me. And then at the end of the day, when I come back and like look at like my progress videos on my YouTube from like 3 years ago, like that's honestly what is like, oh, that's so cool. I actually did improve. And that was like a big thing with my YouTube channel too, was like, I'm posting this just for accountability. I'm not trying to get like views and followers. Like I do not promote that stuff. Like I don't think I told anyone except like a few close friends at the time, like, oh, I'm posting this on YouTube, come check it out or something. Like literally I think all of my like followers or subscribers on YouTube are just random people from Eastern Europe right now. Like this weird niche,
those cover,
weird niche of Eastern European people. But and like that was just again, like just for accountability, just to like make sure I'm practicing every day, making sure I am getting better, training my ear better, learning more techniques. And that's like honestly why I'm taking bass lessons now. Like I think I'm doing this all out of order, like learn how to play bass and then join a band, play live shows. But now like 3 years later, I'm like, okay, let's get a teacher.
Take lessons.
But I've only been taking lessons for like a month or two, but I feel like I've already been able to like implement all of the stuff that he's like taught me like immediately. Like I notice it consciously when I'm like in rehearsal. I'm like, oh, I need to be taking like a glance at this, paying attention to this. So like all of that combined, like my desire to get better is just because my insecurities.
Yeah. No, it's so beautiful that you mentioned that because, like, I also judge myself and I'm like, I need to get better at this. Or, like, you really need to tell yourself, like, you can do this. Like, you need to train your mind. And it also helps being around supportive friends that believe in you, right? Like, when I tell you, like, I think you could do it, like, you got it. You're, like, already there. You can do it. And then you believe in yourself. And then you start to, like, actually believe that you can do it when someone reassures you. But I don't know. I'm just like thinking about it, like our minds and the drive that we have to push ourselves. Is so amazing, and I don't know. I think you've come a long way, and I don't know. I'm still reflecting on it.
I think we've both come a long way.
Everybody
like
has.
It's been 2 years, and I feel like we've grown a lot, like in our skating careers, but also just like as like well-rounded humans. I think it's reflected a lot in like our personal lives too. Just like exciting to see everyone grow. Right.
So just to wrap up, like what's next for you this summer? It's spring. Is it still spring? Technically, it is kind of already summer.
It is still spring.
Like, it feels like summer outside. But what's next for you?
So let's see. Okay, so hopefully I don't get sent to Texas because my boss, I feel like she just like voluntold me and was like, "Hey, you wanna go?" And I was like, "Maybe." And I like didn't say no. I was like, "Oh, I mean, I'd be interested in the opportunity because like granted, it is like a good like learning experience for me, and like it would get." I don't know, it would like give me a lot of leverage for like a new position if I ever wanted it, just like good experience. But if I do that, I'll be in Texas for the foreseeable future. I'll like come home every 2 weekends or something like that, but I'll be skating. Yes. But other than that, honestly, just if I don't do that, like definitely play more bass, but also like continue building like the friendships and relationships that I do have, that I already have had, because I feel like, you know, we've known each other for 2 years, and I feel like, oh, finally, like I'm at a place where like I have like a good like support system, and I've gotten to know like the people that we skate with like really well, and like building like really good relationships with them. And I really want to like continue that, because, you know, relationships, you do need all relationships, you require like work. You need to like like keep up with them, and like make sure, you know, you feel seen in the relationship, and also you have to make effort. And so like I don't want that to be like just, I don't know, gone, given away or something. So like definitely just making more time with my friends, skating more, finding new spots, playing more bass, and just, I don't know. That's
living
really
that good life.
Living the good life and going outside a lot.
Also, for folks that don't know, I'm just gonna share this. You're a foodie.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You love to eat. You also love to try new foods. I remember when I took you to the Chalupa event, and Jerry's mom made like chicharrones. Like cueritos. Yeah. And you were like, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's like pig skin. And you were like, okay. And you tried it and you loved it. So
yeah, because there's like a similar thing in like Chinese cuisine. It's like a pickled like pig skin situation, and it's like the seasoning's different, but so good. I love it. I love food. I love to cook.
Yeah, you also cook. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm also very excited to eat more food.
So if anybody ever wants to introduce Lilian to new food, Lilian loves to explore new food. Cool. So I think this wraps our interview. Thanks for coming out. This is a really good talk. I'm glad that you were able to like just talk about a lot of things that are very real that people don't know and don't see about you. And I'm excited for your band. Yes. And hopefully you don't get sent to Texas, but maybe that'll be a reason for us to visit you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Janet, for having me on the show.
Thanks for being here. All right, thank y'all.